Here on GoPSUSports.com, Houston Texans head coach, former Nittany Lion head coach Bill O'Brien. Coach, welcome back.
Thank you.
You know, being able to be back here, speaking to a packed Holuba Hall, hundreds of coaches here, you know, memories have to be flooding back. What type of memories are flooding back right now?
A lot of great memories. I've seen a lot of great people that I worked with here, close friends that I got to know while I was here. Most of the guys that I coached while I was here are not here anymore. There's a couple guys still on the team. Scott and Tompkins are still around. I saw those guys, but a lot of memories come back. You know, we had a great 2 years here. A lot of great kids, some good wins, not enough wins. You know, like we wish we won every game, but when I drive around here and coming over here to Holuba this morning, a lot of great memories come back.
Aesthetically, from Holuba to what's going on here in Lasch, I mean, how much different are the facilities in terms of what you're seeing from when you were here? Very different.
James took me around and showed me everything, and I mean, I just, from the training room to the nutrition center to the academic center to this room that we're in right now, I mean, these were changes that had to be made, and he came in and made them, and I think that has a lot to do with the success when it comes to recruiting. I think in college, you know, when you bring a young man into this building now, this building is really a great football building.
I mean, obviously you've been busy, but you've commented on it before, the status of this program, the student athletes, the success that it's been able to achieve from year one when you left to kind of what culminated here in January. What are your impressions of kind of where this program has been able to go?
Yeah, I think we all knew. I think anybody that was here at that time with us for those 2 years knew that there was a time where this program would be back, and when James took the job, and you know, it was obvious that you know, the sanctions were going to be lifted, and this program was going to have a chance with James at the helm to get back to where it rightfully should be, which is on the brink of a national championship. I mean, like I said earlier, when you bring a young man to Penn State with his parents and his family, and you show him around and the level of education that he can get, then you bring him into this building, the type of guys that have played here, the history of the place, what Coach Paterno built here. I feel like we kind of bridged the gap to where they are now, and this is what it should be. This is what Penn State is. It's a great program. That's I don't want to put pressure on James, but I feel like they're on the brink of doing something really good here.
You mentioned Scott and some other guys you've kind of been able to see, but who do you keep in touch with? Maybe either that you signed or you got to know during the recruiting process, but maybe necessarily didn't get to coach during your time.
Yeah, that's a good question. There were guys that you know, that are working out for the pro draft right now.
Yeah.
I talked to Troy Apke the other day. I'm hoping to see him while I'm here, but Marcus Allen. We met Saquon early. I think he was a sophomore in high school, but obviously James recruited him, and what he's done here is incredible. You know, there's just a lot of guys that hopefully I can run into while I'm here. Maybe they're still around, but there were a lot of guys, and we paid attention to what was going on because we had a vested interest in those guys. You know, because we had recruited them and knew their families and things like that. So it was fun to watch those guys.
You mentioned Troy and Marcus, but even, I mean, Mike Gesicki, Deshaun Hamilton, you know, what has Penn State done to kind of help them and shape them to be able to have that success in really anything that they do after Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, this place, you know, when you talk about Gesicki, you know, Gesicki was a guy that we recruited out of New Jersey who was an incredible athlete. I think that was one of the few times we beat Ohio State head-to-head on a player. Yeah. And he, you know, he chose us, and he came in here and had a great career. Deshaun Hamilton was a guy, when he got here, that was hurt his freshman year and didn't really play for us. But what he's done here, saw both those guys at the Senior Bowl, fantastic guys. And I think that's the type of guy that Penn State attracts, you know, because when you come here, you're going to have to go to class. You're going to have to, you know, really work hard off the field, as hard as you work on the field. And so it takes a special type of guy to come to Penn State. Penn State is different. Penn State is a place where we take a lot of pride in bringing in the right type of guy here and then watching those guys have success both on and off the field. And I think it's the training ground for guys like Deshaun and Mike in that way.
Going back to that perspective a little bit, you know, when you think about, you know, when you left to where you are now, obviously passage of time, but what makes you most proud? I mean, Penn Staters will always be grateful for the impact that you made, but what was the most proud thing for you in terms of what your teams were able to do and the success and the foundation that you laid for that success?
Yeah, I just said it out there. I mean, I think when you know, when the sanctions first came out, I think people had this program for dead, you know, and I think that the so-called experts said that this program would never survive, would never be able to regain its form of what it had, in the 2000s and the 90s and the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. And, I think we all looked at each other right here in this room and said, that's not really the case. We know what we have in this room. We may not be able to win a national championship this year or go to a bowl game, but, we have some really good players. We had a lot of pro players in the room my first year. We had guys that, played pro football, Mike Mauti, Daquan Jones, Matt McGloin. We had a lot of guys. So we felt like we could win, and I think that's what I'm most proud of, that in some ways we went out and proved a lot of people wrong. And we had a lot of great support here, people that had been here for a long time that really bought into what we were trying to do here, and I'll always remember that. And that's probably the biggest thing that I'm proud of, is the relationships with the players and what those players were able to do for that 2 years.
You mentioned Mauti and McGloin, obviously two guys, that you see now, and two guys, obviously, I'm sure you're not surprised by the success that they've had, but take me through kind of the role that they played here and how that kind of prepares them for being able to have that success at the next level.
Yeah, I think those guys right away when you came in, Matt McGloin and Mike Mauti and Mike Zordich and, the guys that we had here, I think that those guys, there were so many leaders in the room.
Yeah.
You knew that you had really good leaders in the room, and you knew that you had guys that took a lot of pride in playing for Penn State, that they weren't gonna take it lying down. They were gonna show up and fight every week. And I think that that's what really Joe recruited here. He recruited those type of guys throughout the years, and we didn't recruit those guys. But as soon as we came in, they bought into what we were doing and how we wanted to do things, and they led it. They led it from the meeting room into the locker room, onto the practice field, then obviously onto the game field. We didn't win every game. I wish we did, but I felt like those guys really came into their own as leaders, and you could see where, Mike Mauti's a special teams captain for the New Orleans Saints, so you can see where his leadership qualities have taken him. Matt McGloin played. Now he just signed with another team. He's probably going on to his 5th, 6th year in pro football. So you can see where those leadership qualities took them to the next level.
From the moment you accepted the position at Penn State to the moment you're kind of walking through the doors into this squad room, why was it Penn State? Why was it right for you, your family, to take on this opportunity and this responsibility, really?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think about that a lot with my wife. We were in a good place. We were in New England, and we were winning. Working for a great head coach. But I think at that time in my life, I felt like I was ready to be a head coach. And I felt like this was a great fit for me, even though a terrible thing had happened here. Mm-hmm. I felt like this was a really good fit because it really embodied the things that I felt were important, the combination of academics with really tough, good football, being able to recruit the type of guys that I would want to coach. I felt like this was a place where you could do that. And it was a really good opportunity, I felt. And I know I probably wasn't the first choice to be the head coach here, and that didn't bother me at all. I felt like this was something where, hey, look, what's meant to be is meant to be, and we felt like, Colleen and I felt like it was a good opportunity, and we took it.
You mentioned Colleen, but your family, Nittany Nation fall in love with your family. How is your family?
Good. Everybody's good. They love Houston. It's nice weather down there. We have a lot of great friends in State College, so we keep in touch with. So they miss their friends in State College, but things are good. For my oldest son, it's a really great place for him. A lot of great medical facilities down there for him, and for my youngest son, he gets to play baseball every day of the year. So, because it never snows, and so he's a lefty pitcher, and he's doing pretty well in school. So everybody's doing okay.
Always saw you supportive of Cale Sanderson and Patrick Chambers.
Yeah.
Have you been able, I know you're busy, to kind of follow the success that they've had, especially Patrick in the NIT championship?
Yeah, I just texted him last night. I think he was out recruiting, so I missed him for this trip here, but I stay in contact with Pat. I think very highly of Pat. I think he's a great coach. He's a great friend. He and I are kind of the same. Even though he grew up in Philly and I grew up in Boston, there's a lot of similarities to the way we coach. We talked a lot when we were here together. He supported me a great deal, and I was just so happy for him when he won that championship the other night. I thought that was great for him and for Penn State. And then Cale's a legend.
Yeah.
Cale's up here. The rest of us are down here. I think he's won, 7 out of 8 now or something. He's a legend. And I follow that all the time because I'm really close with Matt Millen, and I watch it on TV. Michael, my youngest, he loved Cale Sanderson, so he watches it on TV. We saw it the other night when they won again. It's incredible what he's done here. He's a legendary guy, and I think Penn State's really lucky to have him, and I know he loves being here.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time and enjoy your time back here in Happy Valley.
Thank you.
Thanks.